What's up, everybody? We are back. We are live. The MMA Mainstream Podcast. I'm James, of course. My co-host, Kaelyn. Kaelyn, how you doing?
Good. It's not Friday.
It's true. It's not Friday. It's Sunday. Yeah, things have changed due to my work schedule. So we have shifted to doing this on the weekends now for fun, and we're going to do it probably on Sundays in order to talk about the fights that happened the previous day. On last Saturday, not yesterday, but the Saturday beforehand, MMA Fight Pass presented All Out Cage War in Bakersfield. That was at the ballpark over there. I've been to fights at ballparks, and I think they're very interesting venues to hold fights.
Really?
I think it's neat because you have the built-in seating in that way. So I think that's pretty neat.
Is it better than, say, crowded room standing,
Very much. Very much. I do like that type of ambiance in that sense. But still, what sucks is it's weather depending. And it was warmer earlier in the day. And so I imagine it sucked for some of the fighters because the mat was warm.
Oh, it probably burned.
Probably. I did hear a few complaints
there was
about
no
that.
shade? Was there shade over it, though?
Not really.
Oh, that sucks. Okay, so I think the fights I've been to outside were not cage fights, but in a ring. But they did have something over the top of it to where, because that canvas will burn.
Yeah.
That will burn.
It did start to cool down at night. So hopefully that with that temperatures.
But I mean, Friday wasn't that hot for it to be burning, I wouldn't think, so it wasn't over 100.
Yeah, very true. And now, let's see. Last Friday, 559 Fights had their event, and they featured a dude that I watch on 90 Day Fiance who started cage fighting. Yeah, he's from overseas, and he started cage fighting, and that happened Friday. He won. He's now 3-0, which I think is awesome.
That's
and his
cool.
wife was there from 90 Day. I was like, are they going to make it?
Wow.
Oh, no. Yeah.
2 dramas in one.
Oh, yeah. It was the drama on that show is so good.
I have to watch it. I haven't watched it. I honestly thought it was so dumb, but then everyone keeps talking about it. I'm like, well, maybe today, because Sundays are my lazy day. I watch all the crap that I wouldn't normally watch, so I might just watch that.
You should. I watched that past season, and it was good. I liked it.
Okay.
There's one guy that I actually call him Wish Pharrell because he reminds me of Pharrell, but the Wish version.
Oh.
Yeah. And he's in music, and he thinks he's like this badass dude, even though like he'll start a fight, and the guy that he started a fight with is like his homie, and yet his homie has literally put him to sleep with a choke. And the dude's still like, I'll still fight him. It's like, no, you won't. You'll get submitted by him. That's what you'll get.
Oh, yeah.
But anyways, he competed on Friday at 559 Fights in Visalia, and he won. And then Angelica Pimentel won the women's main event fight that was going on against Mackenzie. I don't recall her last name at the moment, but that fight was supposed to have been a barn too.
You would think from watching those two in their promos, you would think it was going to be crazy.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, when she was like, I'm going to kill you. I'm like, like, word? I mean, I've heard some nutty stuff. I've been around the fight game long enough to hear some crazy stuff, but never really like, especially from women. That's what blew my mind.
Okay, but they're a little more feisty than men.
That's true.
Yeah.
I think it was awesome.
They have real intentions of killing.
Yeah. I feel that they meant it. Like when a dude says it, you're like,
you're like, yeah.
But when they say it, I'm like,
you don't know. There might be a death.
So that fight took place. And then yesterday in pro action, we had the UFC happen.
Yeah.
I believe it was UFC
280? 280, yeah.
Yep. And we had the main event, which featured, let me pop that up for us, Charles Oliveira versus Islam Makhachev. And Makhachev won by submission in the second round at 316.
Yes.
You said you watched the event, and you said he went for a head and arm triangle.
Right. Well, okay, so it kind of happened so fast, but it went from him landing a straight, I don't know if it was right or it was left, whatever, but put him out. So he fell to his butt, and then immediately engaged in trying to get a submission immediately after that. And he tapped so fast. Everyone was like, why does he tap so fast? But it's like, I think like when something's not going to work out.
When it's in there, like
it's like, why wait longer? Just do it. He got you. And out of all people, Oliveira would know if he's caught. And I think he knew he was caught, or he was still a little rocked from that hit, which I think so also. I think he was just in trouble. And he got out of there as fast as he could, but also knew that nothing else was going to come out of this fight with Islam. So very crazy. I haven't paid that much attention to Islam Makhachev before. I knew he was good. I just didn't know how good.
We talked about him. We know that there has been a certain level of hype to him.
A lot. There's been a lot of hype, but not like crazy star hype, but they're just like, look out for this guy because he's tearing everybody up. And now he has a belt. So that's so crazy because Oliveira's on the top of his game right now. I think everyone would agree this is his time, or he's been around for a really long time before, but now for whatever reason he just came through and had the belt, and I assumed he was just going to keep it for however long. But this guy,
I thought he would get at least one title defense and win.
I thought he was going to reign for a while because how good and everyone that he's beaten so far. It's like, well, who else is there? And here's this guy.
Yeah, no, that did not happen.
I was surprised. I didn't expect to see that belt go to somebody else, but I wonder how long Makhachev is going to have this because he's very good.
That's true, but that division's full of killers too, so...
True, he still has to prove himself, I guess, but now it's going to be in title defenses, so that'll be interesting. I don't know what's going to happen with do you think Oliveira will get his rematch? Do you think he'll get a rematch?
I mean, he beat him clean. If it was a decision, I think it should be automatic.
I thought, and I could be wrong.
Or a close fight, automatic, but because this was clean cut, a sub, he got subbed.
I know it was.
Early in the second. Or midway in the second round. It was still early in the fight, is what I mean. That I'd say move on, let Oliveira go against somebody else, gets that win.
I feel like Oliveira deserves an immediate rematch. I feel like he does. And I thought, I don't know if it's definitely not a rule, but I thought, once someone loses their belt, they get a rematch, right?
Well, didn't technically Oliveira lose his belt? Or he got to keep it? Now I'm not remembering what happened.
He had the belt. This was a defense.
He didn't make weight.
Was it? Or did he lose it?
No, he didn't make weight, so he lost it, but then he fought and won.
And got it.
Yeah.
So it was no big deal. It was like he never missed it.
Exactly.
Okay. Right. And now, okay, well, I don't know. Well, I think he deserves a rematch whenever he wants, just because of who he is. I think he deserves that.
I wouldn't say whenever he wants. But I think he does.
Whenever he comes back, I think his next fight should be. I think his next fight should be for the belt again. But I don't know Islam. I don't know what fight he's going to have next. I think it goes both ways. I think Islam will probably fight anybody. I don't think he cares who he fights. But I don't know what Oliveira would want to do. I think someone asked Dana. I watched the post fight. I like to watch what Dana says after.
Well, it's interesting what he has to say. So
it's always interesting. And someone asked him, is Oliveira going to get a rematch? He said he didn't know. So even he didn't know.
Now we have Islam Makhachev as our champ at the lightweight division. And then moving on.
Also, did you hear about that stuff with Alexander Volkanovski, that he's going to come up in weight?
Yes, I did hear about that.
And that he might just get a title fight?
That will be interesting. That dude's a stud. Like I
get it. But when you look at the size of those two divisions, he's great. He's built like a machine. Like he's amazing. He is smaller than the rest of those guys in that weight class, though. Yeah. In the featherweight. Lightweight. So I don't know how he would stand up to these guys, because these guys are good, but they also have size. It's not like they're, getting rid of anything or sacrificing anything to be this good. Like, this is their weight class, So I don't know. He's just so short. I don't know. Everyone else is so long. But he beat Max Holloway a bunch of times, so no.
We'll definitely see what happens with that.
He's just such a small guy. He's a machine. He's just a lot smaller.
And then we have your favorite.
Oh, shut up. Sterling. Oh, God. More irritating that I watched this guy
get so angry. Belt against TJ Dillashaw.
So this was interesting.
This was an interesting fight. The end came in the second round at 344 with Sterling getting the win. From what I understand, Dillashaw was injured. And I know a lot of fighters go into fights, nursing some type of injury. But he couldn't even do pad work because he kept dislocating his shoulder.
It was a problem during training, apparently. No one knew. But no one has to know. No one needs to know that. And people were arguing that, shouldn't he have told UFC? Shouldn't he have told the doctors? It's like, why would he tell the doctors? He wants to fight.
This is an opportunity for him to regain the title. So.
And a dislocated shoulder, I don't think they would really do anything about that. That is what it is. You could still fight, and it might not come out, but maybe. You never know. He could have won that fight by luck and not had his shoulder come out, and it would have been fine. So you can't really... A dislocated shoulder, I don't think you need to report to anybody besides your coach.
After looking at the strikes per round, the dislocated shoulder prevented him from throwing any real strikes.
Oh, well, okay, this was so he hurt it in round 1 and survived. So he was holding his shoulder up with his other arm. Like, he was holding his arm up because he couldn't lift it up or do anything with it. He literally had one arm. And I don't know when he dislocated it. I'm not sure, but if your shoulder is always popping out, I'm sure it takes nothing to make it pop out again, So I don't know when it popped out. It was before he got taken down the first time in the first round, and Sterling was just on top of him, and you could see his face. He was in agony, and I was trying to figure out what happened, because you could see his face, but you didn't know where the injury was. I didn't know I thought maybe it was his knee or foot or something, but it ended up being his shoulder. I don't know. It sounds like he has a problem on his hands. And there was a little bit of drama saying, because, everyone is still bitter about Sterling and his tactics.
Oh, yeah.
So I don't know. And he's saying, Aljamain Sterling was coming back and saying, well, I like to think that I had something to do with him dislocating his shoulder, meaning that he deserved his TKO. I think it's on the line of like, oh, great. Now we have another. Like, ever since he took the belt the first time from Jan, how it was like really shitty. But then they fought again and he beat him. But it was a super boring fight. It was just a ground fight. Okay, whatever. He
won like a backpack.
He won. That's fine. And then now it's like, now he gets a win just because TJ Dillashaw injured himself. I just want a clear cut. You
want somebody healthy to go in there and beat the bejesus out of him and take the title from him. That's it. Plain and simple. But that's not happening yet.
I would like a really good fight from him to where I would like to see a knockout for him. That would be great. That would be like, okay, done deal. You are the champ. I just hate these wins that have these little
I feel like they're half-ass wins.
I don't want to say half-ass because he won. What are you gonna do?
But they feel half-ass because
They do.
Well, with Jan, I feel like that was clean cut.
Oh, by strategy,
fight, but
it wasn't exciting.
He did what he needed to do to win. He just took him to the ground, and that was it.
He did, and it wasn't exciting, but it happened.
Was partially injured from training, so you don't have somebody who's 100%. Yet, not all fighters go in at 100%. I understand that. Yeah. I get it, but yet, this is the UFC. This is top notch. This is the top of the top. And
right. I just wanted a clear-cut win, and I'm not getting that from this guy. I'm still waiting. He thinks he's God, whatever, but I don't know. I don't even know if I wanted to fight Jan again. I don't know. I think it'd be interesting.
Well, we will talk about that because after his performance yesterday.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, we can move on to
in
that.
This fight, Aljamain scored 5 takedowns in the 2 rounds. Like, damn.
Crazy, right?
He just was like, you know what? You don't really need to stand. We're just going to
Well,
take
that's
you.
his thing.
Which
and
is
that's
also,
how,
but what's also crazy is Dillashaw was known as more of a wrestler.
Yeah. He
Didn't
was
even defend the
also good
takedown.
on his feet too for a very long time. Although, you don't know with him because he's been on steroids and off of steroids. Now he's injured. It's like, well, who knows? And I don't know how much longer he's going to be around, to be honest.
You know what? I wonder if he took a steroid because he's injured after the fight because he wasn't going to be in the pool for a minute.
He could have.
Helps you heal. Just saying.
Let him.
Okay. Just do it.
You're like, okay.
Why not? But Aljamain Sterling holds on to his belt for one more fight. And hopefully for Kaelyn,
I just think it's going to be a long time till we see him fight again. I bet he wants a break,
He might because of the holidays coming up.
Oh, well, for sure. Everyone's going to go on a break because it's almost November. Dang, it's already almost November. So, yeah, it definitely won't be till next year. I wonder when. I don't know.
I wouldn't be surprised if it wasn't early on.
It'd be good for him to do it. He's healthy.
I don't believe he took any real damage, so he's still good to go.
He is, yeah. That's
but
good.
Will he want to jump into a fight camp during the holidays will remain to be seen.
No, I feel it'll be summertime next year, maybe fall. I don't know. Who knows?
Honestly, I think spring.
That would be nice. March, May.
Yeah.
Yeah.
March, April.
Yeah, that would be cool.
That's ideally what I would think is.
I wonder who his opponent would be, though. I just don't know. Well, yeah. Maybe it'll be Sean O'Malley.
Because he won that fight, which is what we're going to talk about right now.
Moving on to that fight.
Versus Sean O'Malley. O'Malley won by split decision. I was reading quite a few people on Twitter and other social media were saying that it was a close fight, but they felt that Jan did more to actually edge out the split decision. And I've heard both sides. I was going for Jan.
Yeah, me too. I always go for Jan. I love Jan. I've loved Jan ever since he started really making a name for himself in there. Like when he was first just terrorizing everybody. It was awesome. So yeah, I think the same thing. It was a split. I agree with the split. I figured it'd be a split. Like in my head before they started announcing it, I'm like, this fight was really close. I don't know what the judges think, but I think that Jan won because I think he had the edge. He got some takedowns. Sean O'Malley, I don't think did. So he got all his takedowns. Most of them.
Yeah, Jan scored 6 takedowns, and O'Malley went for one, attempted, but didn't get it.
Right. So that's I thought, for sure he has the edge. He got those on top of strikes.
Usually you would think that.
Yeah, and the judges didn't give it to him. People are saying he got robbed. It's clearly not a robbery, but it was close. And I think it's obvious that he had the edge, though. Not by a lot, but it was only from those takedowns that he had the edge because Sean O'Malley has good range. He's very long, and Jan had trouble getting in. He was throwing, but he wasn't connecting. And when he did, it was good, but Sean O'Malley's tough. He took a hit and just wouldn't go down as crazy. But Sean O'Malley was landing too just because he's so long, but then Jan got those takedowns, and I thought, okay, well, he has to win because of the takedowns. That's the only deciding factor, and they just didn't count them. I don't know.
Now, here's what I want to know. When they drug test fighters, they're looking for performance enhancing, of course, but are they looking for just regular drugs? Because Sean O'Malley strikes me as somebody that you could find out, you could find someone to get meth from. So I feel like, you know what, maybe he was on meth and he just anything.
I don't know. His chin is very tough. If you could take one from Jan, more than a few. True. You took more than a few.
That only lasts so long though, so he needs to get that out of his system real quick and learn how to dodge a shot.
And normally he's fine, but this is Jan. This is the number 2 or number 1 guy, in that division now. So I don't know. I was surprised that Sean O'Malley took those hits. I thought he was going to get killed. I think a lot of people thought that.
I think there was a huge assumption of that.
Oh, yeah. Everyone was like, why are you doing this to him? But okay, he could take a hit. Now
He
we
won.
know he
It
won.
boosted his career,
I
that's
don't
for
think
sure.
it was the right decision. I feel, man, I think Sean O'Malley had to do a lot more to get a win. I think he needed to get a lot more. He skated by, and the judges didn't give Jan his deserved takedowns. I think that's how I feel. Not just because I'm biased because I like Jan, but watching the fight, I agree with the split. I'm like, okay, it should be a split. I don't disagree with that, but the way it went, I'm like, I think Jan had a little bit of the edge from those takedowns.
Yeah.
So,
I
now I don't know what's next for Jan.
Jan win as well. But now what does happen? O'Malley won. Do you put him automatically in the title shot for against Aljamain?
I think people want that. I don't know. It's kind of weird because I think it depends on I think it depends on Sterling, really. I think it depends who he wants to fight. I think he'd gladly take Sean O'Malley. I think he would kill him on the ground.
I think he would too. I think that's it. That's exactly it. His game plan, his strategy was to get him to the ground and just roll him up like a hot tortilla.
He could throw that guy out. So can you imagine being in Sterling's division and just like his wrestling, would be the ultimate, like, that's the thing. You probably won't beat him in wrestling, and
no.
So I don't think Sean O'Malley wants to fight Sterling. I think he definitely would, but
he's going to have to if he really wants that belt. And he's talked about wanting to be. He feels like he's a future champ, but if he wants that belt, he's going to have to go against him. That's what he's faced with
now. They can give him another fight, but then people are going to be like, "Well, that's boring." I think he has to go only up from here based on what he just did. I don't know. I mean, if he fought Sterling, I think would win easily on the ground. So
I agree. I think in that fight, Sterling would win. It would take. I don't feel like O'Malley has that knockout power because he could take somebody out, but he has to break him down first.
Chito Vera beat him. I'm still stuck on that because Chito Vera won because O'Malley broke his foot, but O'Malley was doing no good in that fight. And that fight never happened again.
I feel you let him run him back, and then if O'Malley wins that, then he gets title shot.
I want to see him fight Chito again.
That's what I'm saying. Like, let him fight. You let him avenge that loss too.
I think so. Yeah, I like that idea for him, but that's our perspective. That shit never happens.
Future booking a fight, not what the UFC really intends to do, because they have a guy in Sean O'Malley that they can present, and he will generate a certain level of pay-per-view sales.
Right, and I think everyone's especially excited to see what he does next. I did not expect him to beat Jan. It was very close. I didn't agree with it. I don't know. And I don't know what's next for Jan either. Where does he go? Because he's not doing too well. Lost.
Yeah, he has to bounce back. This next fight,
who do you give him?
Really make or break.
I don't know who you would give him after giving him someone like O'Malley, who is way below him in the in the pool.
In the rankings,
yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I wonder what his rank is going to be next after this. For both of them.
They'll probably put that out soon. I don't believe it's already out yet. The rankings. But for Jan, he needs a win. He needs to get back. He needs to get to finish in a devastating fashion to really be put back on the map and known for that killer instinct.
Yeah, well, I don't know. Hopefully he comes back. I'm kind of in a tough spot now.
Very true. Yeah. All right.
What other fight? What other one was before that? I think there was
Darush versus Gamrot.
Oh, that fight was. I don't know. Nothing significant to me. Nothing significant to me.
There's also.
I know Dariush is good.
Kuchigi.
This fight was. It was good. A lot of strikes. I don't know. I feel like with women, sometimes you get lost in. Well, they're doing great, but no one's getting knocked out, and it's just they have high energy, and of course they're in shape. They have the best cardio. They can go all the rounds and make it really close. I feel like it's always like that,
Yeah.
So Kaelyn Chukagian has always been in a good spot. She was number one for a really long time. I don't know what she is now. She might still be number one, perhaps.
It does not say.
She was the number one contender forever. So I don't know where she goes from here. Manon Fior, or however you say it. I'm sure we'll have a better fight next time. We'll have a matchup from someone up in the top because I mean she beat Kaelyn Chukagian. She's one of the best.
She's one of the best, yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know, but this fight was all stand up mostly and wild and normally how women's fights go when it goes to this decision. Like they both get hit by good punches and it's close. But I don't know. Unless a female gets a finish or a knockout, it's really hard to get anyone on board. You know, they're very, very good. These are like the top of the top. These girls are very good. They're really good at striking. So, yeah.
And then moving on, we had Bilal Muhammad versus Sean Bradley. Muhammad got the win in the second round.
This fight was crazy because Bilal was getting beat up bad. And I thought he was almost going to go out. I thought he was going to give up. And somehow he comes back and beats the shit out of him. It was crazy. I'm like, what just happened? I didn't even watch the full fight. I walked in on it already going on, and Bilal was getting really beat up. I'm like, oh no, he's almost done. Came back, and I think he just does what he does. I think he always does that. I feel like he always comes back.
He just weathers the storm and then
brutal win, connecting all his punches. The guy Sean Brady's tough. He took all those hits before he went down, but his chin, he was on the money every time with all of his shots. And that was after him getting beat up for a while. So that was really good.
And it didn't look like it was just all stand up. It looked like Bradley did try to score 2 takedowns, but it was mostly stand up. All right.
Yep.
Then
I didn't catch the ones before that. I went to a UFC party at my gym, so when I got there, prelims had already been started. I could always go back and watch them, but
Nurmagomedov.
Also one above that, Ozdemir. Okay, Nikita Krylov. Okay, these guys have been around for a really long time. I'll have to go back and watch the fight, but we'll see. Unanimous decision. So I don't know. I haven't seen Volkan Ozdemir in a long time fight, so I don't know what's up with him or what's next for him. But it was like he was on a prelim. That's crazy. That's how good this fight card was.
He lost the decision.
Yeah.
Damn. Nikita scored 7 takedowns.
Well, this was a blowout then.
Apparently.
Wow. Yeah, I don't know what's next for Volkan. I think he's obviously on this tail end of his career, I think. He's been around for so long. So I don't know. I don't know what's next for him.
And then we had, Carol Rose.
A lot of Khabib's cousins on this fight card.
Yeah, right there. Don't ask me to pronounce his first name, but Nurmagomedov was the last name.
Abu Bakar.
Bakar.
Yeah.
And he got the win by unanimous decision.
Yeah, crazy.
It's funny looking at this.
He was in the corner for so many fighters.
Close fights. This fight seemed very close just looking at the stats on it. But
well, these guys are both Russians?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That they are.
Yeah.
So they both fight bears.
Mm-hmm.
Now, we've taken a look at this fight card, and we are now going to move on to next week's fight card on the 29th, which the main event involves Arnold Allen versus Calvin Kattar.
I haven't seen Calvin Kattar in a while.
This I'm curious about because you have Kattar coming off a loss, Allen coming off a win, and Allen has such a great record at 18-1.
Yeah.
But Kattar has fought some real tough dudes.
Calvin Kattar's been around for a long time. He's done a lot of main events, at least a couple, so that I know of. Arnold Allen, has such a good record. It's like, where's this dude been? They haven't hyped him up so much.
Periodically popping up, but that's about it.
Well, maybe he's just been getting ready for now.
Could be.
I don't know.
Number 5 versus number 6 in rankings.
I'm gonna. That's the worst matchup too. Like that can go either way. I don't know how Kaelyn Cutter's looking like lately. I don't know how. I don't remember his last fight or what he looked like. I know he's really good. I think I might pick Arnold Allen.
All right, I'll go Calvin then. I'll pick.
Okay.
I'll be I'll go the opposite way.
I mean, he might too. That's a hard pick, but.
And then following up, we have Tim Means versus Max Griffin. I'm already going to take Griffin. Griffin's, although he lost his last fight, he's had, pretty solid showing so far in the UFC.
Yeah, he's good, but Tim Means, I mean, he's been around for a really long time.
Yeah, especially when you look at their fight records. Wow.
Yeah.
Both fighters
coming off losses. I don't know what Tim Means looks like nowadays. I don't know.
Well, there's a picture of him.
I mean, fight-wise.
But I'll take Griffin.
I'm going to take Tim Means. I'm going to go for the vet.
And then we got Waldo Acosta versus Jared Vanderaa.
Don't know these two.
I know Vanderaa, the heavyweight bouts. I don't recall ever seeing Acosta before. That's why it's his debut. That answers that. Okay.
Undefeated.
Yeah. 7-0 against 12-9. So Vanderaa, of course, we have talked about in the past. He has had some losses. His last fight was a loss.
I have no idea.
I don't really know who to pick because it's like we don't have any experience of seeing Acosta, but Vanderaa is so up and down.
Yeah.
Why not? I'll go Acosta. Maybe he'll get the jitters out quick and it'll be a quick bout.
I'll go with him too.
Move down. I saw that in the prelims, Andrei Arlovski is still competing.
Jesus.
Yep. He's still fighting for the UFC.
There we go. Well, this is going to be a wild fight because
against Marcos Rogerio de Lima.
Yeah, he's crazy. He's really wild how he fight. His fighting style is wild. So this is going to be a good fight.
I think so too. I'd like to see Arlovski, but I feel like if he stands and trades with de Lima, that de Lima might catch him.
Yeah. I'm going to go with Arlovski, but
I am too.
I kind of feel the same.
That's just the way I see it. I feel like, because the chin wears out after so long.
After a round and a half, yeah, you don't know what's going to happen. So
very true.
But yeah, Marcos is good. He's really tough. So I don't know. He's just wild whenever he gets in there.
And then, of course, there's a bunch of other younger fighters that are hungry and looking to come up through the rankings and make a name for themselves in the UFC.
Oh, Dustin Jacoby. Okay, this fight card just got interesting. Dustin Jacoby
versus Khalil Roundtree Jr.
That's gonna be a good fight. Dustin Jacoby, I don't know if you know, he came from Glory before UFC.
I have heard you mention that.
Yeah, he's great stand-up. He's great kickboxer. Khalil Roundtree is his match. Like that's a crazy fight because Khalil Roundtree was doing all right in the UFC when he first got in there, but went to Thailand for a while and came back looked like a Muay Thai superstar.
A brand new fighter.
Yes, for Muay Thai. So this fight especially is going to be super crazy. They both done Muay Thai. They both have the experience. So, and I love Dustin Jacoby, so I'm going for him. But man, I love Khalil Roundtree too. So that sucks. But I have to go with Jacoby just because.
If you take Jacoby, which I want to take Jacoby also, being that he has the Glory background. But I'll take Roundtree.
But Roundtree, their experience matches each other because what he's done in Thailand and when he came back is like night and day. I don't know. I forgot who he fought, but there was when he came back and avenged all his losses, he was standing and standing in the middle of the octagon in like this perfect Muay Thai stance, just lighting up his opponent like crazy. And Joe Rogan even was like, who is this guy? This guy went to Thailand, came back. Now he's like a classic Muay Thai fighter beating the shit out of everybody. Like it was nuts. It was such a good fight. So, man, I love both of these guys. So that sucks. But this is going to be a really, really good fight. I'm going to go with Dustin just because that's my guy. But, man, I like both of them. So that'll be interesting.
Very much so. That's a fight I do look forward to as well. And that's going to do it for
Trayshawn Gore, right above that. Sorry.
Oh, it's all good.
I'm a fan of his because watching him on The Ultimate Fighter, that season that he was on there, did a lot of good. It's really tough. I think he lost his fight. You know, they put you on a fight card after the Ultimate Fighter's done, and you just have matchups anyway. So, and I think he lost that fight.
He's coming off a loss, and he's only 4-2. So,
yeah, he did win another one. I don't know. He's had a few fights already, but he's good though. I still believe he can do really good. So we'll see. Unless he loses this one, then I don't know. But I definitely look out for him though, because I've watched him on Ultimate Fighter coming off of that show. So I love going for those guys.
Now, how is the Ultimate Fighter? Because I haven't watched it since it's come back. Do you feel like it's better? Or do you feel like
I mean, it depends because it's different generations have different things going on. Like, you know, back in the old days, obviously it was exciting. You had the drama, you had those heavyweights, you know, causing trouble. Like, you know, that memorable season with it was a heavyweight season. It was Rashad and Rampage. So that was great. Like, so you'll have that
season.
So you'll have that era of fighters, which was amazing to watch. You know, not so much a lot of discipline, but they were crazy. But now everyone's concerned about their technique and they're really honed in on their skill rather than partying, causing trouble, being WWE type of characters, you know, where now they're really focused on their skill and how well they display it on that show. So it's changing. Like, obviously the sport's changed from, you know, back in the day when everything was just a little crazy to where your rules are getting a little stricter. The fighters are getting a little better. There's kids training when they're like 10 years old coming on the Ultimate Fighter, and, you know, their skill is through the roof. So it's different. I don't know. It depends what you're looking for when you watch that show now. Like, if you want to see good skill and stuff, that's what's on there now. Like, these kids have been training forever before they get on this show, whereas back in the day, you just have some guy on the streets comes in, you know? So I don't know. It's not as much drama. So don't get that drama factor in there. It's pretty boring, actually, as far as that goes. But the fights are really good. So, you know.
And I've always enjoyed watching the training aspect of it. Is that still there? And is that still?
Oh, yeah, I know. And then they have like their guest coaches come in, and like all these famous coaches come in, and it's really cool. You get to see who actually knows each other, and what gym they go to, and even the fighters, because, you know, the coaches have some kind of pool of like who gets on that show. Like, hey, I have this guy who's been training forever. He needs to get in the tryouts type of thing. Whereas I don't know what it was like before, but now it's like, you know, these guys come from somewhere.
They had tryouts, but from what I understand, if I understood correctly, that they would have certain things like if you had an upside down record, they wouldn't take you.
Oh, okay.
If you, there's some other,
like, I don't know what the rules are.
Stipulations that they had. Yeah, and I know that the tryouts were like you grapple for a few minutes, you'd do some pad work. Basic stuff.
Yeah, so I don't know if that's the same, but it looks the same to me. I mean, tryouts look the same. I feel like they try to create drama and it doesn't work, but
that's just for the show aspect of it.
I know, but it's dumb. It's like, we're over it. I'm like, I used to just tune in for the fights at the end of the episode rather than the whole thing.
The whole episode.
If I'm bored, I'll watch it for sure, but you know, that's not so important. I just want to watch the two fights at the end and who they pick to fight next.
Very true. Very true. There is some other news that has been going on in the world of combat sports. Let's go ahead and take a look at that. Fighter, he's a fighter. He's actually a former Olympic hopeful. Nakamura is hoping to bring back the Japanese spirit or restore the Japanese spirit in the UFC. Now, at one point, Japanese fighters were becoming more and more popular, and they had relevance in the UFC, and then they just disappeared.
I don't think if you name a Japanese fighter.
Sakuraba.
Okay. I mean, in UFC.
I want to say
now,
he competed once in the UFC.
Nowadays,
UFC
it's like who?
Nowadays, you're right. Nowadays, it's
this generation.
I know there are Korean fighters. I know there have been the introduction of Chinese fighters, because I know
they're coming up for sure.
And so Japan's fighters have been on the back burner, and they are hoping that with this guy, who's a phenomenal wrestler, that they'll come back to prominence in the UFC.
Which is interesting. Japanese wrestler,
Yeah.
Not so much karate stand-up type.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially because you have, Kid Yamamoto, Enson Inoue. Those were also previous fighters that are Japanese or Japanese descent. Because I believe Enson is.
I wonder why not so much in UFC. Like, why not? Because I think there's a lot in one championships. You come across all kinds of fighters there, but just not in the UFC. It's like, what happened to the Japanese?
What happened to more of the international aspect?
Yeah. We see, obviously, Brazil is everywhere.
Brazil's represented. Russia is the one that's really come out.
You know what? But Russia, that's just a territory marking. Like, obviously, Khabib. You think he's Russian? Russian? No, but he lives there.
Before there was Khabib,
right?
I could take you old school. Former UFC champ Oleg Taktarov.
What? Don't know who that is.
He's nicknamed the Russian Bear. Oleg Taktarov. That guy, you would actually, if you've seen, he's a movie star now. He's an actor. He's been in so many different things now that you'd be like, oh, I've seen this guy before. You just didn't know his name. I could pick the guy out of a lineup because I've watched him compete in the UFC. But like the Russians have bbeen around forever, but they just started finally. More and more are competing in international competition.
Yeah, I feel like their territories, because Russia is so big, the land of Russia. But I mean, they're not all Russians there. They're like, their territories are expanding, but what they're expanding into is like the Muslim community, and it just happens to be a part of Russia. So they're repping Russia. Are they really Russian? No, probably not.
Good point.
But they have to claim they are. So if you really want to get into the different sects of Russia, they're different, so I don't know. But yeah, you could say Russia's taking over just because those guys are.
I would say taking over, but they're becoming, there's more and more fighters from there.
But really, I think it's Dagestan more than anything. Those guys are coming up. Those guys are very disciplined. Where Khabib is at, he's bringing those guys up. And they have their own leagues and stuff out there too. So you never know. I mean, they're just
they're all competing out there. There's plenty of fights that take place.
Yeah, and I think they have to be incentivized to come over here. They know they could kill everybody. I think they know they could kill everybody. I think they're just doing what they want to do.
That could be, but also I think it is also the idea of money and possibly fame.
True.
Because look at Khabib.
If you care about that, Khabib doesn't give a shit about
that. Khabib doesn't, but look at his notoriety after competing in the UFC.
Yeah.
Like, he's retired. He's been retired for going on 2 years, and yet people still talk about him with such relevance.
Because, I mean, look at how many corners he was in this fight card. He's still around. He has his own promotion. Yeah. So he's continuing on through. I don't think he really wanted to quit fighting. I think he just did that for his, his mom or whatever his reason was at the time. Religious reasons, home reasons, I don't know. But he's still going to be in there. Now he's a coach. Now we'll see who he brings up. Like, we'll see Makhachev. Like, who knows what this guy's going to do with Khabib in his corner,
Very true. And then in other news, moving on from the UFC, Gaston Reno, ex-Bellator fighter and Spanish language UFC commentator, has signed with Bare Knuckle Fighting.
Why?
So more guys that are not competing in MMA anymore are just moving on to Bare Knuckle.
It's where they go to die.
I don't want to agree with that. I really don't. But unfortunately it is, because we haven't seen any real homegrown talent develop from Bare Knuckle.
Not developed from Bare Knuckle, that's for sure. And the talent that is there, it's like, it's not great, you know?
Yeah, but it is unfortunately a lot of fighters that are at the tail end of their career, and this is like the final stop.
It's so wild. It's such a career killer.
Bare Knuckle. You really think so? That if a guy still had a little bit of a career left, yeah, he could maybe have another UFC fight, that the UFC or Bellator would be like, no, you fought there, we're done.
No, not because of that. But I think once you cannot get fights anywhere else, that's where you go to die.
Touche.
I don't know a bare knuckle fighter. Do you know a guy that's just known for bare knuckle fighting? No.
That's known for just that? No. And that sucks, because I do think they need to develop some talent, but I feel like honestly, that's where they need to kind of bring back Tough Man. I feel like if you brought back Tough Man and you had things involving that would give an incentive, like almost like a Contender Series for Bare Knuckle, but it'd be Tough Man contest style.
Yeah. I don't know, man.
Which, you know what Tough Man was, right?
Barely. Explain it.
Tough Man was basically boxing, but it was just guys that, I could kick that dude's butt.
Yeah.
And they'd put on gloves and go in there and
like
just
anybody could go in there. Like,
it was pretty much anybody. It was more,
at least bare knuckles sanctioned.
That's true. And you have guys that are trained rather than like a Tough Man where it's some guys just
some of those bare knuckle fights look exactly like what you just said. So I don't know.
That's very true.
I give them very little respect for that organization so far. I know there's a lot of big fighters that went there, but did you hear about their fights? No, I didn't.
Yeah, we always hear about the buildup. We never hear about, we hear about the main event usually, because that's the big deal.
You'll hear about the announcement, but after that, they don't even show highlights. They don't even promote anything after that,
Yeah.
And they're not, oh, who's next for this guy? Like, who cares? No.
Remember that one time I cared? Because I don't.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't know. I don't know. Bare knuckle is its own existence. It is what it is. I don't know how well they're doing as far as like how much money they make or bring in.
They must be doing all right if they keep having fights, but they also have fights in really random areas.
I don't think every area allows bare knuckle fighting.
I think you're right. I don't think it's functioned everywhere. But like places like Louisiana and some of those southern states, they're like, what do you want to do? We can have it in your backyard. It might cost like extra, but we can do it in your backyard. Like we can have it right there. Do you need hay, like haystacks for like a ring? We could do that.
What they're missing. There's some hay in there.
Just no ring ropes or anything like that. It's just a hay circle.
It'll just be a circle of hay, use it to your advantage.
That's it, yeah.
Ouch. Can you imagine that and all the hay marks on your back from
that would suck. Especially if you get starched.
Ugh.
Game over.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's going to do it for this week with us here at the MMA Mainstream Podcast. Thank you for joining us, and we'll see you guys next time.